Hello there. Today I want to create a video of walking through what it looks like to cite and reference resources. So there are many resources out there for you to use to understand how to cite and how to format references, but I want to show you a video of actually doing it while writing a paper. I'm not going to write an entire paper. In fact, I'm not going to write that much, but I just want I want to show you how the process works. So I have pulled up a research article about learning styles. So learning styles are generally thought of as the way we learn best. So auditory or visual, kinesthetic, and then reading and writing. So that point doesn't really matter for purposes of this video, but just to give you some background on the article I pulled up. So you can see that this is in a journal called Educational Sciences, Theory and Practice. You can see the published date and the authors, and this abstract is what you will find in a research article. It's just kind of a summary of what the authors found when they conducted a study or their research. So I have a Word document pulled up, and I'm just really going to do some copying and pasting and paraphrasing just so you can get an idea, like I said, of how citing works while you are writing your paper. So we'll just scroll down to this first page. And, again, it doesn't really matter what I'm writing about. So I'm just going to try to show you some different examples of how it works. So you can see that this author has done quite a bit of research, which is what we're supposed to do. When we write a paper, we want to include as little of our own opinions as possible. What we do is research to see what the experts say, and then we discuss it. So you can see that this author has done quite a bit of research about this topic. So, and these are the in-text citations, but I'm going to show you how you would do it if you were writing this paper. So we're just going to take this first sentence, and I'm just going to do a copy paste because, say, I've decided that this is an incredibly powerful statement, and I don't want to change any of the words because it would take away from the meaning. So student guidance in its personal, academic, and professional dimensions can be understood as the processes that promote an integral and individualized education for that person. So because this is a direct quotation, I need to have quotation marks around everything that this author wrote themselves, or these authors, because there's more than one. And then I'm going to go back to my paper. Now you can see I have 5 authors. The rules for APA are that when you have 3 or more authors, you only list the first author's last name followed by et al., which is Latin. And this is a change from 6th edition. 6th edition, you used to have to list all the authors first time, but in APA 7th edition, we only list the first author followed by et al. Okay, so her name, the first author listed, so they don't go in alphabetical order. The way these authors are listed means this author did the majority of the work, or maybe it was her idea or whatever, but she's considered the lead author. And then they go in order of contribution. So this person did the next most work. Okay, so that's how that means. All right, so we're going to put in her name. And you always want to be sure you spell it correctly. And then the year of publication, and then followed by et al, period, comma. And then the year is July 2020. So these dates aren't the year, the publication. That's just information that's when the authors submitted it. So this is the date that the journal was published. So July 20. So in an in-text citation, I only need the year. And then because it's a direct quote, I need to put the page number and page 2. And that is my in-text citation for a direct quote. Now, when you are writing academically, you want to quote as little as possible. You want to paraphrase as much as you can, because what paraphrasing means is you read something and you understand it and you put it in your own words. That is how you demonstrate that you have learned what you've read. You're not just saying, oh, that looks good, and you put it in a paper. So we're going to go back and paraphrase this sentence. I'm going to put you on pause while I do that because it could take me just a second to figure it out. Okay, I have paraphrased our sentence. So this is saying that, or the way I'm interpreting this sentence is saying that when a student is in a personal, academic, or professional setting. So if they just want to learn something for themselves, like maybe how to change a tire, or they're in academics, so they're in a class, or they're at their job having to learn something, the learning process is individual for that student. So we don't all learn the same. We need different tools and different styles and different methods. And that learning process is of vital importance for the student. So if the student's needs are not met, then he or she is not going to learn as effectively. So this is a paraphrase. Now the way I cite is still just the first author's name, followed by et al, the year of publication, and that's it. So I don't have to provide the page number. You can provide the page number, but we don't typically see authors do that because it starts really clouding up the paper if you have just a bunch of these small details. Now, some of you might notice that I used some of the exact same words as the author. So there's a partial quote in here, and I'll show you how to address that. Now, the reason I didn't put quotation marks around these exact same words is they're just common words. They're not anything that this author particularly coined a phrase or made up for themselves, but I am using the exact same words in the exact same exact same order. So I could put quotation marks around those 3 words. And I could put quotation marks here, okay, the learning process. But again, these are all common words. So I don't necessarily have to put quotation marks. I'm not plagiarizing because these aren't special words that the author used. But I do want to show you what it looks like when you quote, when you have a partial quote. And, it's really better to err on the side of caution. So it's better for me to just go ahead and put the quotation marks and then go ahead and put the page number. And that way I'm for sure not plagiarizing. So you don't want to take a chance and plagiarize because that is fraud. right? That's illegal. It's intellectual property theft. Okay, so here I paraphrased. The only difference is I don't have to put the page number and I didn't put quotation marks. This, like I said, is a partial quote. So I put quotation marks and I still put the page number because I want to tell the reader, go here and you can see exactly what this person says. Okay, now I want to show you how you format a citation when the author has referenced someone else. Okay, so I'm not going to mess with trying to paraphrase and quote. I'm just going to, for purposes of this, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you read in another author's paper and they have referenced someone else. Okay, so let's not worry about whether this is a quote or not, because I'm not publishing this paper, so this is just for examples. All right, so these authors referenced this author, Keefe, and Keefe wrote their paper in 1984. So the way I would need to cite this is Keefe 1984, because that's true, as cited in Antelm Lanzat et al. 2020. Okay, and if it is a direct quote, okay, where did I find that? I think I found it page 2. Okay, and I put quotation marks around the whole thing. Again, I don't want to mess with trying to paraphrase this because it doesn't matter right now. Okay, so that author read Keefe 1984. You did not. So you can't say for sure that Keefe said this. So you're going to say, well, what I read, these people told me that Keefe said this. So you want to give Keefe credit because this author gave them credit, but you didn't actually read Keefe's paper. Now you could, if you go down to the references of this paper, this author should provide a reference for Keefe, and yes, they did right here. Okay, so if you said, well, I really want to see it for myself. Now, interestingly, this is 1987, so I don't know which is correct. For some reason on page 2, they have listed 1984. So that is how I'm going to leave it because my author wrote 1984. Okay, so that's how I'm going to leave it. Okay, now I want to show you how to cite when an author has referenced someone as this person has. So up here, the authors put their citation at the end. Here they're saying, as Diego pointed out. So I'm going to show you how to do that because you can absolutely keep that same style of writing. Okay. So we're going to say, as Diego et al. Okay. And we're going to put the year for Diego. And then we're going to say, as cited in Antelm Lanzat et al. 2020. Page, if we're quoting, if we're not quoting, we don't need the page number. Still page 2. Oh, I'm sorry, that is not correct. If this is a quote, the page goes at the end. Okay. Yes. Oh my, I need to look at what I'm doing. Okay, page 2. Okay, if it's a direct quote. If it's not a direct quote, again, you don't need the page number. Okay. So again, I didn't read Diego. I read this author. So that's why I want to say as cited in their paper. Okay, here's another example of this. Okay, for cold, people feel more comfortable. Okay, so I will come to my paper. Cold, 1984, again, as cited in. Okay, and if it's a direct quote, okay, if it's not a direct quote, so just pretend like I wrote that. Well, I forgot the quotation marks. Anyway, so pretend I wrote that. That's all I need. Okay, I am going to show you how to format our reference, but I want you to take a look at what I have on the screen. This is what your references should look like now. In a student paper, you should use double spacing. So when the when the journals reprint articles, they don't double space because you can see this thing is already 15 pages. So it would be 30 pages out of a journal. So they're going to single space. But when you are producing a paper, when you're writing a paper, you need to double space everything. So understand that these would all be double spaced. But if you notice, the first line of the reference is flush left. After that, everything is indented. Okay, so you put your authors, notice just the initials with a space between each initial and a comma, the ampersand, and then the next author, the year of publication. The title is not italicized because the name of the journal is italicized. And then you have the volume and the issue and the page numbers. Now, apparently this is not, they didn't provide any URLs, which is fine. The journal may have a policy. They don't do that. But if you notice, they do provide the DOIs, which is a digital object identifier, because that's never going to change. URLs will change, the links will be broken, but when you have a DOI, it's permanent. So, but for your purposes, you need to provide a URL because your instructor needs to be able to go in and check your references. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we will format our reference in our paper. Okay, so we have all these authors' names. Okay, so we know this one's last name. So here's your references. Here are your references. And you always have a separate page for your references. I'm not going to do that right now, but your references always go on their own page. And like I say, they should be double spaced. Okay, so this author's name, and I think her initials are Anne Marie, if I'm not mistaken. Anna Maria, okay. And then I'm going to put a comma for the next one. A, J. And notice that space I put between the initials. Oh my. Just copy. M, L. And it's important, in different languages, it's important that you include the accent marks. So if you're, you need to figure out if you can't do a copy paste for whatever reason, you need to figure out how on your keyboard to use, to insert the symbol because, it's somebody's name. And so if the language requires that for their name, then, you as the user of their resource don't want to just like it's not important to include their name. Okay. Now, if you had 20 authors, which I have seen 19. So if you have 20 authors, You don't list all 20. There's formatting for that, and Purdue Owl can tell you, I think you list the first 19 and then an ellipsis. But otherwise, you need to list all the authors' names. Again, notice in the citation, I only put the first author. Okay, and then, oh, I need an and, don't I? Let's see this. Okay. Okay, and it was July 2020. So the year goes first. And then if you have the month and day, put it in there. If you don't have to have it. And this is the title. Now I'm going to have to do a little bit of editing because in titles, we only capitalize the first word or proper nouns. And then I'll show you if this happened to have a subtitle. Okay, so for example, just pretend that it said a literature review or something like that. Notice I did capitalize the first word after so this is the subtitle. And I did copy that first word, but I'm not going to, that's not actually there. So, and then we're going to put the name of the journal, which is Educational Sciences Theory and Practice. And this is italicized. Oh, can't remember. So that means it's a subtitle. But when we have a journal, we capitalize all the letters. And notice they have an ampersand in the title. Okay, this symbol. So I'm going to keep that. Otherwise, I would spell it out. Okay, and then we want the volume, and that means the year. So they've been publishing for 20 years. And then not in italics, the issue, and then the page numbers. And notice I don't put my abbreviation for page like I did in the citation. Okay, and then retrieved July 30th, 2021 from, and I would put the URL. Now, I think, did this one have this has a DOI. Okay, so that's actually what I'm going to use. So I should have noticed that. So if you have a DOI, always use that instead of the URL, because again, the DOI is permanent and the URL can get broken. So now I need to indent all my other lines. Okay, and that's my reference. So what we went over today is how to cite, so in-text citation for a quote, for a paraphrase, for a partial quote, when our author references another author. We had a couple of examples of that. If we quote, we need to provide the page number of the article we read, not the article our author referenced, okay, because we didn't actually read that article. And then I showed you how to format a reference. But again, if you look at articles, they will always provide a reference list. They have to. So take a look at those and make yours look just like that. All right. So I hope this video has been helpful for you today. If you have any questions, go to the University of the People Learning Resource Center. The APA portal is there to help you. Purdue Owl, APA style blog. Almost every university has their APA style advice. You can find it on the internet. Just be sure you're using a reliable source to help you. Okay. So with that, thank you for paying attention and joining me. And I hope this video has been helpful for you.